2.01, election of chair, vice chair, clerk, and deputy clerk, superintendent, Dr. Neisel.
All right, so I get the privilege of conducting the elections here. So we'll be taking nominations for chair and having you vote, and then do the same thing for vice chair, and then we'll make a recommendation to you for clerk and deputy clerk and let you take it from there as far as making your motion. So this time, we'll ask for nominations for chair for the upcoming year.
Dr. Nicely, I'd like to nominate chair to remain the same, Mr. Brett Hudson.
Are there any other nominations? If not, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Linden?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchani?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Clemens? Yes, ma'am. Mr. Greenway?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hudson?
Abstain.
And then we'll ask for nominations for vice chair.
Dr. Nicely, I'd like to nominate Cheryl Fachani for vice chair, please.
And are there any other nominations? If not, Ms. Clerk, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Linden?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchani?
Abstain.
Ms. Clemens? Yes, ma'am. Mr. Greenway?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and with that, Mr. Chair, we would like to make a recommendation that Angela Robertson serve as clerk for the coming year, and Edie York serve as deputy clerk. So that's a recommendation.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Linden?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Buchani?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Clemens? Yes, ma'am. Mr. Greenway?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes, ma'am. Item 2.02, establishment of meeting dates, places, and times. Dates and times for scheduled school board meetings and work sessions are listed in board docs for adoption by the board. Is there a motion to adopt the dates and times as presented?
Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with everybody else, I did ask, I don't know if we made that.
It's listed that way
Okay.
for February 22nd.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, no objection.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to adopt the meeting as listed on the agenda.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Greenway?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Linden?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Clemens? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Buchani?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes, ma'am. Item 2.03, appointments to committees. School Board Policy 2.08 lists various committees to which the board appoints individual members. The Special Ed Advisory Committee is a committee appointed by the school board and reports to the board. The Roanoke Valley Governor's School Board is an independent board that provides oversight for the Roanoke Valley Governor's School. The Audit Committee, CTE General Advisory Committee, and School Health Advisory Board are superintendent committees that make recommendations to the superintendent and his staff. I nominate the following board members to serve on these various advisory committees and boards. So, Special Education Advisory Committee, myself. Audit Committee, Mr. Greenway, Mr. Linden. CTE General Advisory Committee, Ms. Vashani, Mr. Greenway, Ms. Clemens. School Health Advisory Board, Ms. Vashani, and Roanoke Valley Governor's Board, Shelley Clemens.
Motion may be approved.
A second?
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, the CTA General Advisory Committee just made clear as far as the minutes are concerned, that 2 of the 3 members will have to serve on alternating basis as far as attending meetings.
Yes.
Just for the clarification for the minutes.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Greenway?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Linden?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Clemens? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Buchani?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes, ma'am. Item 3.01, surplus request for retired technology equipment, Mr. Jeff Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Several times each year, we request the retirement of aging technology equipment. For this request, there are approximately 500 devices that consist of laptops, servers, iPads, monitors, printers, and other computer accessories. This equipment was previously assigned to administrators, students, and teachers. As part of the surplus process, the state contract vendor Powerhouse Recycling will ensure proper data removal and allow for environmentally friendly destruction of all equipment. They will also pay us the remaining residual value from the surplus of the equipment. Now, all surplus proceeds have been included in the FY24 budget as a funding source for the technology replacement plan. The staff recommends to surplus the approximately 500 retired technology devices and prepare them for sale. Powerhouse Recycling will provide proof of destruction for all computer equipment. And this includes erasing all data using the Department of Defense standards. So, any questions for the surplus?
No questions.
Thanks.
So I assume we'll put that on the consent for next.
Consent's fine.
Item 3.02, solar power pilot project, Mr. Todd Cates.
While our guests are getting plugged in and ready, let me just say thank you to everybody who's put up with our temporary situation right here while we do a little bit of work in the boardroom. It's not ideal, but we'll make it work, and hopefully we'll be ready for our next meeting. So about a year and a half ago, we started investigating solar energy and what that would look like for the school system, the possible savings that could go along with that, along with the sustainability piece. Our main goal is to save the school system money. I think you guys all know that we wrote about $1 million over budget on utilities last year, so we have to look for ways to start cutting that back. Every dollar that we spend in utilities is a dollar that doesn't go into educating a child. So to that end, we started seeking out proposals from solar providers and looking at a number of ways, one of which would be to own our own system, put it on our roofs, maintain it ourselves. That requires a substantial initial investment, which we really can't afford with all the other priorities that we have. And there's a second option, which is a power purchase agreement. And we have Catherine Knight and Bryson Rupnick here from SunTribe, and they're gonna tell us what a PPA looks like and how it could benefit the school system.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you all members of the school board. Thank you all for having us. We appreciate Todd's diligence and getting to work with him over the last few months and Dr. Nicely's time as well. Just to start out, as Todd mentioned, I'm Catherine Knight with SunTribe. As our Director of Business Development, I have the privilege of working with our public school partners to help bring solar to schools throughout Virginia. And I'm joined by Bryson Rupnick, our Director of Project Development. Just a quick kind of run through. I'd like to tell you a little bit about SunTribe, who we are, and then dig into our proposal for a pilot project at Cave Spring High School. Talk a little bit more about not just what we do on the roof to bring solar, but also how we bring solar into the classroom for our CPS students. And then open it up, we'd love to entertain any questions you all have about solar or SunTribe as well. So just to get into a little background on SunTribe, we are based just not very far from here in Charlottesville. We're a leading solar developer in Virginia, and most importantly, we are a leading solar provider of solar for schools in Virginia. We've had the privilege of working with over 15 school districts across the state. Some of them you can see here. And we're really committed to long-term partnerships that add value for our school district partnerships. So you can see we've worked with Henrico Schools, Chesterfield County Public Schools, and Newport News, just to name a few. And for these schools, we worked over multiple waves of projects, 3 and 4 waves to provide, solar and millions of dollars of savings associated with that solar. So to dig into what we have envisioned for Cave Spring High School, I did want to just briefly talk about, as Todd mentioned, what a power purchase agreement is and how it works. I find this visual really helpful, and we can talk about kind of what it's showing. So recently, I think as this district experienced, we saw AEP rates jump pretty considerably, all at once. And a major benefit of solar power purchase agreement is that you get guaranteed energy rate over a 25-year term. So the solar array that's installed, on this case, Cave Spring High School's roof, would be owned and operated by a third party, no expense to the school district, other than paying for the power that the system produces at a fixed guaranteed rate over 25 years. And so you realize savings in kind of 2 ways. You start out with a lower PPA rate, so what you're paying for solar energy is less than you would otherwise be paying to AEP. And then as rates grow, and maybe experience some of that volatility that we've been experiencing in the last 12 months or so, you would have a guaranteed rate, and so it creates a budgetary certainty year to year going forward. So getting into some specifics, this is the Cave Cave Spring High School roof. You maybe recognize it. It's a brand new, beautiful white roof. We've envisioned a system that's just under a megawatt that would maximize the space available and meet almost 85% of the school's electricity needs with renewable energy that the school is buying at a guaranteed rate. And this would save just shy of $2 million over a 25-year PPA term. So as I mentioned, we care very much about bringing solar and the resulting savings to each school district. But because we work so closely with so many different school districts, we also feel like curriculum integration and education is also integral to what we do. So here you can see our curriculum and instruction lead is a former public school math teacher. She spent 6 years at Roanoke County Public Schools, and now her full-time job is creating curated curriculum resources that are standards aligned that help bring renewable energy into the classroom at every grade level. And I just love the picture on the right. To me, that kind of embodies exactly what we're trying to do here. This is a student, fifth grade STEM student in Chesterfield County who's just experienced, she has a teeny tiny solar module on her hand, and her motor has started spinning as she held it up to the light. And that is the exact same technology that's on her school's roof right above her. So we work closely at every grade level, and more importantly, workforce development and education is becoming a big part of what we're doing as well. And so we want to work with you all to not just save money on electricity, but also create meaningful educational opportunities for RCPS students. So that was brief and a lot of information. I'd love to open it up to any questions you all might have.
The first thought is the 2 million over 25 years is basically 80,000 a year.
It is. It's not necessarily linear. There's a couple of options as to how a PPA may be structured. So every PPA has a purchase per kilowatt hour rate and then an annual escalator. So you can essentially opt to realize more savings up front or more savings in the later years. So it's not necessarily linear, but that may be what it averages out to.
What would the cost of the system if we were to purchase it outright?
So what we see for a system like this typically is just shy of $2 million for full install costs, including labor.
So this is just me personally, but if you're willing to lease the system, why wouldn't you buy it and get the full, you get everything? Just my first pass, I don't know enough about it, but the first pass is, it's like leasing a copier. We pay $25,000 over 5 years for a $5,000 copier.
Yeah, one obviously is the $2 million initial investment. The other is that they'll maintain it. And, right now our folks don't have the expertise to maintain these systems. So one of the reasons we'd like to do this as a pilot program is that we can gain experience with solar energy without actually investing any money in it. So we realize these savings long term, and immediately we don't pay anything while we see what sort of maintenance it's requiring and that it is really producing the way they say it's producing. We trust them, but we have to trust but verify. So we want to know how much electricity it's really producing, how much maintenance is really required. And then there's the opportunity to expand it to the other buildings, to put it on the new CTE center, and to really get into some significant savings. And again, we can do that at essentially no risk to us. If we buy it and it's damaged, or it gets to a point we can't maintain it or anything, then we're losing money. Every minute it sets up there not producing power, we're buying power from AEP, and we have that $2 million investment on the roof. So we felt like this was a good way to go as sort of dip our toe in the water and get experience with it without it costing us anything.
What is the oldest project that you've done? How long ago was the first project that you did? Any idea?
Started it's about 7 years at this point.
And if they had any major issues?
All of our systems, so we do the operations and maintenance on all of the systems, so servicing any warranty, routine maintenance checks, and I wouldn't know major issues, but any issues that a system has had has been taken care of by outside operations and maintenance.
It benefits them to keep the system up and running because we're buying power from them. So if it's not running, they're not making any money. So they want it to work as much as we want it to work.
Todd's points are a really good one, that everyone's incentives are sort of aligned very nicely. We all want to have the system operating at its full function for the life of the system.
At worst case for us, they put their equipment on the roof. For whatever reason, it doesn't work. We just continue to buy power from AEP at the same rate we're buying it now, with their prices, continuing to go up, of course. But I mean, we would buy it at the rate we'd be buying it at anyway. So anytime the system would be down, it would be them that's losing money.
Is the roof structure capable of the installation now?
So part of our development process, which takes place after signature of the PPA itself, is doing the due diligence to make sure that solar can go on that roof. So overall, the thorough process that we have, one of that portions is actually to do a structural analysis of the facility itself. And that's stamped by a professional engineer, and all documents can be shared with our team for review.
Okay, so we haven't gotten that far yet. We haven't looked at the structure.
No, this is presented as information this evening, and then we'll finish the legal review with the county attorneys, hopefully within the week. And then we'll come back 2 weeks from now to, as an action item, to look at actually doing a contract. And then they would go and do the engineering piece. So if they did the engineering and said, you can't, it's not gonna support solar panels, obviously we wouldn't proceed at that building.
Right. And does it present any hazards to the kids or the community?
That's a good question. So there's no real moving parts with solar. So it doesn't, often we get questions about noise. There's not really any moving parts that would create noise. Solar panels are primarily made of glass, aluminum, silicon, so very sort of standard materials. There's not a toxic material risk to students. And really, once they're up there, we talked a lot about this yesterday, it's a flat roof. It's very hard to even know that they're there once they're up there. So we actually do a lot in the classroom with a dashboard to help students remember that it's there and to interact with it on a, educational level.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. So in terms of the education piece, can you expand on that a little bit? I find that pretty interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a curriculum integration program that we call Solar Empowered Schools. And it's sort of composed of a number of features. So the very first is a solar dashboard. So once solar is on Cave Spring High School, we would have access to a dashboard that's real-time data as to what the system is producing that students can interact with. It's web-based. It could go on the district's webpage. And then on our Solar Empowered Schools website, which I'm happy to share with you now, is curated curriculum content that is sort of for every grade level and is also aligned with the SOL standards. So teachers can interact with that. And then Megan Milo, who is our curriculum instruction lead, she can come into classrooms and teach a lesson. We've done several sort of trainings with teachers, particularly this summer I can say I sat in on some trainings with CTE teachers to help integrate some additional lessons into courses that they're already teaching for their career and technical ed students. So we really want it to be an adaptable program that meets your needs and your teacher's needs. What we, having Megan on our team, what we know is a teacher cannot have another thing on their list.
Right.
So we want this to be additive and supportive of the tremendous work they're already doing. And we want to hear from you all and from the teachers as to what we can do to support.
Okay. So along the lines of the CTE, with our new programs that we're building there, is this something that you see that we could utilize for our CTE students in terms of training and educational purposes and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I really wish I had a photo just to kind of give you an example. In Louisa County, we've done several systems with their schools, and they have a tremendous CTE program. We help them to set up a training array. So it's it ends up only being 2 of these tables, but every semester, students in their Energy and Power course can actually assemble the array, all the components of it, assemble it and take it apart every semester. So they really get the hands-on experience of what it means to install solar. They can then take to, put on their resume, take to a job site, and really translate into a real world career.
Okay, that's great. All right, thank you.
And you mentioned every grade level. I mean, does it truly start in kindergarten and go through 12th grade?
I just love it when Megan comes up with, when she pulls out lessons she has, very very small. I'll tell you, my son is a kindergartner, and he has his favorite lesson that he's done with her is solar spin art, where we take a very small solar module, attach it to a motor, and put a CD on top, and it spins, and he can put a marker on it, and he practices covering up the module and taking his hand off, and so he gets to see it spins when the sun shines on the module, and it stops when it doesn't. So that's a very tangible interaction for even, 5 years old.
When you start to get to the more advanced levels of education within the high school, we have the raw data that's actually accessible for you all in the county itself. That data can be extracted to Microsoft Excel or other types of data programs. You can have that used for advanced courses, for science and such.
And
So
even
truly
that,
the
yeah.
reach, the reach can be from kindergarten through 12th grade.
I have one more question. Anybody else in Southwest County, or Southwest Virginia, I should say, rather, using this technology right now in a pilot program?
Yes, there are a number of school districts that are signing on right now, and then we're also working with Virginia Tech currently. They are in, just about to start construction on their first.
Under one of the buildings, okay. 'Cause I saw the Virginia Tech thing, I was wondering if you were there too. Okay.
Just time frame, we're talking about a year
Okay.
or so between the time of the signing agreement and the time the system will be up and running.
Great, it's exciting.
So I have lots of questions regarding this. So I wonder, we're talking about if we paid for it, it's $2 million today. I wonder what it was 7 years ago and what it'll be in 7 years. So we're talking about a 25-year PPA. Do you provide upgrades as they become available within the, smaller panels become available to be able to, you take those off and put these on? That's a new roof. We void that warranty by putting these on. Should we, if we decide to do something like this, should we start with an older roof school? Like, and I don't know which one that would be. We're starting to replace some of the roofs, so I don't know if Northside's is an older. I hate to see us take a brand new school and explore.
Sure. Regarding the roof warranty, during the development process, post PPA signature, our team works directly with the manufacturer as well as roofer of record to ensure that that warranty sticks to the rest of the roof's life moving forward. So the solar itself, we work directly with that manufacturer and what qualifies for actually maintaining that warranty throughout the period of the solar installation. Knowing that we have multiple technologies that can be deployed depending on the manufacturer, whether it's Carlisle or Firestone, et cetera. Some of them like to see slip sheets, so tiny sheets of plastic that go under the actual solar array to avoid touching the actual roof itself. There are multiple things that can take place, but overall, we do get a signature from the manufacturer that does not void the warranty.
And then Bertha, do you want to speak to the potential for technology upgrades or?
Sure, yeah, so overall, rooftop solar is kind of in a different spot than ground mounted arrays right now. Ground mounts, there's a lot more space to be used. Overall, those panels can get larger, and they get larger because most of the business in solar does take place on the ground. So these things get larger, but they don't necessarily get more efficient. Rooftop solar, you want them to be smaller and more efficient. The business is definitely moving towards a more ground mounted oriented technology base. But overall, it's in our best interest if new technology does get released that is advantageous to rooftop solar to be deployed once it actually makes sense financially. So we would be the ones to contact you all if that makes sense rather than you all looking for that.
And Tim, to answer your question about an older roof, it's actually a requirement to enter into the PPA that the roof is still under warranty, and is there a minimum age that it has to be, or?
Typically, we want to see 10 to 15 years left on a warranty, and that's for everyone's interest, something, it's not to anyone's advantage to have to remove parts of system if a roof needed to be, an issue needed to be remedied. So we want to actually finding a roof that's very early in its life is advantageous.
And so a number of our buildings aren't actually eligible for that reason. Cave Spring High School is, Bird High is, we looked at Glen Cove also, but obviously with renovations, we wouldn't do Glen Cove at this time. Bird's system would have been significantly smaller.
Just interesting. Across the board.
Should Ken, Dr. Nicely, and Mr. Cables, have y'all called a few of these other school systems to
I have. I made calls today. We just actually met and got permission to move forward with this yesterday from Dr. Nicely. And I made phone calls today. I didn't get in touch with anybody, but I sent text messages, emails, and phone calls to the directors of operations in 3 of the school divisions that have already partnered with SunTribe. So before we get to the next meeting, certainly I will make contact with them.
I appreciate the question, because we do agree that the user and, end user experience is very important to make it this, evaluation and determination if we want to do it ourselves or not. So definitely want to hear from people who are actually using it.
Anything else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, we appreciate the time.
Appreciate it. I'll be in touch.
Okay.
Safe travels.
I think the general consensus on 3.03, everybody agreed on, we need to go through the whole process of listening.
I think so.
Kevin, are the actual numbers in here?
I think the general consensus for everybody was. Okay.
So, before we move, Mr. Chairman, just so on that item, I think what I would recommend is we definitely want to do some more due diligence, talking to some end users. Appreciate the presentation, but absolutely want to hear from some other folks. And so I think, as of this evening, as far as the next meeting goes, if we seem to be at a place where we could present this again for action, which would mean, another presentation and so forth, let you deliberate that. That could be one way to go. If we're not quite comfortable enough to do that by January 18th, we could do another information presentation to, continue the conversation. So that'd be my recommendation, as we sort of play that by ear over the next week to see what kind of additional information Mr. Gagos comes up with.
Sounds good.
I personally, just to let you know, I'm fine with, I'll let the rest of you decide. I don't like anything that we don't own. And I think there's a lot of potential that, that maybe when you speak to the other school systems, I just think it's, there's a reason copy companies will lease you a machine for 5 years for $25,000 or $30,000, and the machine costs less than $5,000. Is this the case here? I don't know. I don't know enough about it. But the point is anytime you have someone else owning property on your property, I'm not a huge fan of that.
And just to be clear, we would actually, correct me if I'm wrong, we would actually not be leasing this from them, but you are right, it would be,
Same
they're operating on our property for sure.
That's right, it's kind of 6, one, half dozen of the other, it kind of is the same thing.
Right, that's right.
They're actually signing a lease with us to lease the rooftop for $1 a year. And then in exchange for that, we agreed to buy the power from them at a set rate. That rate is about 20% less than what we pay AEP today. And the contract that we are seeking with SunTribe would have a 0% escalator, which would mean it wouldn't ever go up during the life of the agreement. And everybody that buys electricity knows that that's not been the case with our power company. It's gone up pretty much every year.
So I think where you got a size, and 80,000 is a large number, is it worth the potential of what can go wrong? Is 100,000 worth the potential of what can go wrong with a brand new school and a brand new roof? I don't know. I don't know the answer.
We did bring in our maintenance guys and had them present for the presentation, gave them an opportunity to ask questions yesterday just to make sure that all of their concerns were being met. So we are considering that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So item 3.03, minor capital request, visiting side stadium restrooms. I believe the general consensus of the board is to scratch that and move on to 3.04, minor capital request, bonsai play area paving. Mr. Todd Kegels.
We were asked by members of the board to take a look at the 2 play areas that are out at Bonsack. It's just a photograph. They're all in board docs. I believe you've all had access to those. See what they look like, see what we could do to provide a cost estimate for those. So we have had a company come out and look at both of those. They are both in need of repair, of repaving. We've already repaired them several times, attempted to, patch them, but they're old. And they need to be repaved. The approximate cost for that would be $95,000 that's to do both of the play areas. They are both quite large at that school. Just a reminder, we did just do the one at Green Valley. That was actually just paved, I think Monday. Just finishing up, putting up some fencing and doing some things over there. And we're also repaving the one out at Glenver Elementary, hopefully in the next couple of weeks if have managed to keep the weather. If not, it'll be right after, right after winter is over and the weather's changed again. But it'll be done soon. And so we're recommending that both of those areas be paved at a cost of $95,000. And if you choose to move forward with that, we recommend that be on the consent agenda for the next meeting to appropriate $95,000 from minor capital special projects to pave 2 play areas at Roanoke Elementary School.
And it's $95,000 for 2 areas.
That's right.
And both need to get done. It's not one over the other. They
That's
both, okay. It's not 95 times 2.
Do we have a plan in place that we use for these? Because I know, obviously we have 16 elementary schools with areas like this, and I know that over the last couple of years, we're kind of running into a lot of this. Because I know, and you had brought up David Burlington, I believe, correct? Is there like a replacement plan, kind of like what we had with the playgrounds, or is it
No, not at this time, and it's, I think it would be a good idea to have a replacement plan in place. The thing with pavement is it can be fine this year, and then next year, with the weather, depending on the age of the pavement and what's going on, and stability of the soil around it, it can change rapidly. So we've been addressing these as needed, and we have done a number of them since, in the last year and a half. But no, there's not any kind of, plan to go in and just sort of preemptively replace them, or replace all of them the way we did with the playgrounds.
Or at least put them on top of the schedule.
Yeah.
I think
Or at the very least, make sure that we
CED.
have a regular schedule for evaluating.
for evaluating,
condition,
yeah,
right?
so they don't, so you don't have any
That's a good idea.
surprises would be nice.
Yeah, that's a good idea. The same way with the tracks. You've seen the one at Hidden Valley and now the one at Burlington Elementary. It's the same thing with those. They need to be evaluated regularly and planned out. Essentially a replacement plan, yes.
Susan, did you have any comments? I saw you're thinking about replacement plan monies over there?
No, I'm just looking at the fact that you have $110,000 after this left in your special capital projects. Is that just FYI?
is there anything we can do from a maintenance perspective, like sealing them or to make them last longer?
I don't know the answer to that. We can discuss that with the companies that pave it. Typically, they will say, in regards to driveways, they'll say the best thing you can do is to keep oil off of it. We don't have that problem on, our play areas. So I don't believe that, like putting a sealer on it, for instance, will extend the life of it. They're just old. They've been there since the schools were constructed. And, 25 years outside, it's a long time.
Are there any other surfaces that you could put down that might last a little longer? Or,
I think the short answer is no,
Yeah.
not at a similar cost, and honestly, you get 20 to 25 years out of the pavement, that's a long
That's pretty
lifespan. Like you could do the poured in place rubber, that's more expensive and probably does not last as long. You could do concrete, but concrete's gonna be significantly more expensive than pavement, and all concrete cracks. It's outside approval.
Which one driveways last 25 years?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just,
right.
A different grade of asphalt, huh?
we need a pavement company.
Well, and I think what we're seeing is that a lot of these things are reaching the end of their life at the same time, which is, at every school. So there's so many of them. Mr. Lynn and I were talking earlier, we have a tremendous need for paving in general.
Right.
Bus lots, roads around the schools, parking lots at the high schools. and at the elementary schools. They are, when we renovate the buildings, those will get new parking lots, but, you know, there's 25 other buildings that.
And that cost has
that
gone
use
up
also.
considerably with the cost of oil and everything else.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep, big time.
I'm familiar with the condition of the playground over there at Bonsack, and it's not great, but I don't think it's the worst of the problems that we have as far as tracks and playgrounds go. I mean, do I wanna oppose this? I don't know. I mean, it's certainly in my district, and it's gonna need to be done, but I don't think that it's the worst of the ones that we have at this moment.
It was, you know, these were the ones that we were requested to go out and specifically take a look at, see if they needed to be done, and we do agree that they need to be done. So certainly if you wanted to, you know, look at doing others first, we can certainly take a look at that.
How long would it take to get an assessment of some of the others? Next work session? Longer than that?
I'm just thinking about how many schools we have and what would be required for us to go out and assess them. I mean, before the next work session, 4 weeks, I would think we could do that.
Can any of this be patched temporarily, or is it?
These have already been patched temporarily, so there's not really much more we can do in terms of, you know, repairing the cracks that are there. You can kind of see where it's, let's see my cursor there, kind of like right along here. We've already tried to go in and clean out the grass and then put the, you know, put some asphalt in there. It's really at the end of its life. You can see that even since we've done that, the cracks are expanding. That's just gonna continue to happen. It's at the end of its life. Now, like I said, that's not to say that we don't have others that need to be paved as well, but, you know, we probably have millions of dollars worth of paving that we could do.
It is a harsh reality.
There was
As
a
time
little bit of
marches on.
progress, and we've started addressing those things over the last year and a half, and, you know, we're definitely making progress. More money's always better and can make it go faster, but we are working at, you know, taking care of all of these, we just can't do them all at the same time.
David, I think you have a good idea. Is that what you'd like to do or propose?
I would like to see that, but the pictures that we see here online, are those all of the same I know we were talking about two different playgrounds there. The one with the new playground in the background doesn't look as bad. Is that a different?
Yeah, that's the other play area right there.
I'm wondering.
The one that has the playground, that there's this basketball court on one side of the school and then the playground on the other side of the school.
Right.
You can, I think if you go to.
It's your school, David. If you don't wanna do it, say so. That's the way I do it.
I'd like to see, I mean, I would like to see an analysis of all our different facilities and determine if this was the worst one. I'm not opposed to doing it either.
There you go. Let's go with that.
I think that's a smart decision. I
Yeah,
think
it's
it's
his-
good to know where
It's
we
his school
stand.
district. If he doesn't wanna do it, let's get an assessment of all of it.
Okay.
Let's see where we stand.
All right, so we'll bring that to the next work session.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And we've got time, Todd. It's not like it needs to be done
I think
yesterday.
we can get it in 4 weeks. We just have to go out, photograph all of them, obviously, and assess all of them. I think we can do that in 4 weeks. I don't think that's gonna be a problem.
We're not exactly in paving season. This
Yeah,
wouldn't
we
be
were
done.
trying to squeeze those in. We're still able to do some paving. We just did the one, like I said, this week, out at Green Valley. We're gonna try to get, the one out at Glenver done also.
How much was Green Valley and how much was Glenver?
Green Valley was 25,000, and I don't want to quote exact numbers, but the budget for it was 25,000. It was somewhere close to that. And Glenver was somewhere close to 65,000. It's a much larger area.
It's amazing how much different sizes the playgrounds are to me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's,
And the number of them, like Green Valley has one, and,
Yeah.
you know, Bonsack has two.
so with that comes more expense.
Sure.
Yeah, if we're gonna do, what we should do, if we're not gonna take care of them, is dig them up and not maintain them. That's what we should do. I mean, Honestly, I mean, I'm getting serious, Cheryl.
Oh, I'm not saying that, Tim, I'm just saying it's interesting how they're all vary in size, that's
Yeah,
all.
right.
And most of the schools are,
You know,
within reason, the same size.
And if we don't want to take care of them, I mean, I agree with that in my district. If we're not gonna take care of them, let's dig them up and not have them.
Well, and I think if you look at, some of them may have a basketball goal or something like that, but outside of that, is there a need for a large paved area where we're not parking cars if we could grass it for kids to play on? I mean, that's a legitimate question.
I think the elementary instruction folks would be best positioned to answer that question, but my initial thought is, yeah, it is important to them, because when, it's wet outside, for instance, it's rained, they wanna still be able to take the kids out and play. You can't take them out in the mud, in the grass, so having those large, hard surface outdoor areas, I think is important to them. Even over like at Cundiff where, they'll go out in the parking lot, they actually block off part of that parking lot during the day, so that they can have access to a paved area. I don't guess, they have that track out back, but I don't guess there's another paved area, at that school, to
That's
use,
it.
so they go through the trouble of using the parking lot, so I do think those areas are important to them.
They were important to somebody. There's a reason they put them in, right? They didn't just say, let's put asphalt on the ground here.
That's right.
So, to David's point, if we're not gonna take care of them, let's dig them up and get rid of them. Saves us a lot of money.
Right, next.
All right. Item 3.05, 2023 EPA Clean School Bus Rebate Application. Ms. Susan Peterson and Mr. Todd Caples. Welcome, Susan.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'll get up and I'll get started, and I promise to be brief.
While she's doing that, just to give Mr. Cagle some direction here, would the consensus be to look at all asphalt surfaces on all properties, or focus primarily on asphalt surfaces that are used for play areas? I don't know if that makes a difference to him or not, but just make sure we're all on the same page in terms of what we're asking for.
I will say, we're familiar with the tracks at the high schools and the middle schools, so I don't think we need to reassess those. I think we have a good idea of the condition that they're in. And actually, generally speaking, I think we're doing okay there. We're resurfacing Cave Springs this summer, and hopefully paving Hidden Valleys before July 1st. We're gonna try to do that this budget year. I would suggest that for now, we look at the elementary schools, all the play areas at the elementary schools, since that's specifically what we're talking about here. We probably also have some other paving needs in terms of the road out at Northside that we talked about, but those things are being addressed in CMP. Again, we can always use more funding to do those things more quickly, but I think for now, and in terms of the workload and what we're dealing with all the other projects going on, I think if we can focus on the elementary schools, then we can always go back and do the others later.
That works for me.
And is it possible that if we identify enough projects that the price comes down, if we've got 6 different projects that we're gonna do?
Well, anything's possible. I'm not sure from a contractor standpoint. I mean, you do get some more work that way, but you're mobilizing to different sites and having to move equipment to different sites. So I'm not sure that would significantly impact the price. But certainly if we identified a number that we wanted to do, we would put that out through RFP and then see how the prices came back. These projects would all be, over the $50,000 budget mark. So.
Has the bus lot over in Vinton been done already?
Yeah, that's
And that was how much?
100 and, I don't wanna, give you a figure and have it come back wrong. I don't recall exactly. I think it was $130-some thousand.
It was that or buy the property over on Fifth Street and move the bus lot. I don't think we wanted to do that.
He doesn't worry about shadow.
And does that have to be thicker because of the weight of the buses or anything?
It does, there's special pavement, and it's packed specifically for that weight.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead, Susan.
All right, before I jump into the actual grant that we were looking to apply for, I wanted to go ahead and let you know that we do currently have some alternative fuel buses that we run. Back in 2015, 2016, we did a pilot program, and it kind of made sense at the time because we were renovating Denver High School, and that bus lot needed to be repaved. We kind of looked at it at the time, and I think we reached out to Davenport, and they installed a propane tank for us for free, and we went ahead and purchased 10 propane buses at the time. We only run propane buses out of Denver right now, and I think it works just for the routes. I think the transportation department, Ms. King and I have talked a lot about this, and what they're finding is although the price for propane may be a lot cheaper per gallon, how often you have to refill because of the mileage and how quickly it burns off kind of makes up the difference. So it's not necessarily a cost savings, but it is an alternative fuel to help the environment. So I just want to let you know that we do already have some alternative fuel school buses out there, because this will come into play. You'll see later on, propane is an option, but we're not necessarily going to think about that right now because these buses are only 8 years old and we don't need to replace them. And in speaking with Ms. King, there is no benefit to the school division to add more to the fleet and have them run out of the different lots. They would have to run out of the Denver lot because that's where the propane is sitting right now. And it would almost, if you ran it from somewhere else, you'd almost have to refill by the time you got the bus to the route itself.
One quick question, Todd, how do they manage the rural routes? Do they still have enough power to get up the mountain?
They don't do well. They had to, and this is all prior to me coming on, so I'm repeating things that I've heard, through the transportation folks. But for instance, they had to reduce the rear end ratios so that, you'd have enough power in the mountains to get up the mountains. And of course, that comes with a corresponding decrease in efficiency of the bus. So they've not done particularly well. That's why they're not keen on, moving forward with them.
That's what I was,
We would say they were colossal failure.
yeah, I heard that, I just wanted to verify that.
Let's be honest about this stuff, jeez. It didn't go well.
So the reason why I bring this to you, the federal government has a clean school bus rebate program. They put it out every single year. We have applied for it every single year. But what's new this year is they're actually making us get a signature from the school board that you're aware that we're gonna apply for this grant before we can apply for the grant. So I actually went on to apply for the grant and go to sam.gov. We've done everything under that section. We've got a registration for the school division. I'm the point of contact. I've gone in and started to, we had Ms. King provide us the identification of the buses that we would scrap, and when we scrap them, they've got to go out of service. We can't keep them for the spare buses, because typically when we buy a new bus, the bus that we sell the very oldest bus and get rid of it, and then whatever bus is en route that we're replacing goes to the spare one. And so we do need to be cognizant that under this program, we can't keep it for a spare bus, we have to actually completely get rid of it. And so she's identified the buses to completely get rid of, and the thought is to really just apply for one electric bus, because we don't really know what we're getting into at this point. But when we went in to apply for all of this, I couldn't even move past the lines that said, give me the signature from the school board in order to move forward. And so that's why I'm bringing it to your attention now, because typically this would be something that we would go ahead and apply for, and then if we were awarded, bring it to you and say, hey, this is wonderful news, we've been awarded this grant. And so it's kind of backwards, but that's what the federal government is forcing us to do.
Susan, didn't we get a couple of electric buses?
We've gotten this grant before in the past, but we didn't use it for electric buses. We didn't get it for the electric buses.
Okay, gotcha. I remember for some
You
reason.
got that, yeah, we have an electric transit van.
Maybe that's what it was. I remember us doing something with that.
Well, there's also, I know, a constituent that emailed you and me both asking about this, so that might be a question of mine too.
Well, that could be too.
when
I'm
it
getting
comes,
older, so.
I think last year we had applied and were put on the waiting list. Like you could go out there and see that we were on the waiting list. And I think Montgomery County had been awarded several buses. And so I think that's what raised the items is to be applied, we had applied.
Okay.
But this is a certification that we'll just, I have attached to board docs, and, if we move forward with applying for the grant, y'all can approve it under consent at the next meeting, and we'll just see all the signatures so I can, submit it. But real quick, just kind of a little bit about the program itself. They have about $500 million to provide out nationwide. They are setting aside about 60% for priority applicants, and I'm sorry, we don't qualify. So we would end up being a part of really a lottery again, and see if we happen to get picked for the next one. Oh my gosh, why is this going nuts? There's a gremlin in my laptop.
Oh, that's what I have.
Okay, so, the types of buses that we could purchase would be an electric bus, and we would get, depending on, like, a class 3 to 6 is a medium level bus, a class 7 is the heavy duty bus, so the biggest bus that we have. So then, if we buy an electric bus, our rebate would be, depending on what we would buy, we would probably buy the class 7, which would be a $200,000 rebate to us.
How much does the bus cost?
Hold on. If we did a compressed natural gas bus, you'll see it's between 20,000 and 300,000. And if we bought a propane bus, it would be 20,000 to 25,000. So they're not covering the whole cost of the bus. So I looked in May of 22, Alexandria Purchase has a PO out there, and that was in May of 22. So that a little while ago, that was about an electric bus.
What's the cost of a diesel, do you know? Or
We
gas?
just paid $120,000.
So you have to maintain it.
It's
It can explode. You have to store it in a special location. I mean, there's a lot of, sounds like pretty good, but sometimes it's putting lipstick on a pig.
So
You have to have a
they're-
charging station, you have to have somebody that knows how to work on one bus.
Still a pig.
Exactly. So there are other considerations. We can apply for the grant, see if we win it, and then make the decision of, do we want to address the charging station? Whether we connect to AEP correctly? How are we going to train our maintenance staff? And again, how are we going to operate? We already know propane buses aren't the best in the mountains, and so how would our electric buses do?
Well, and then
What
what's-
happens between runs in the morning and night if we have to
And what
dismiss
happens when you've already given up that bus, you've given up a bus to replace it with this bus, that old bus basically has been submerged with cement and grounded somewhere. That's what they do. And we're out of bus. They're literally out of the bus. So, I would say now, in my opinion.
I mean, it's 3 times as much.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's all the good old government for you. We're
How
gonna
much
save
time are
you
you gonna
some money,
spend
but
applying for
cost you
that
some money.
grant?
Well, once I get the signature, I don't think it'll take much time to go through the minutia. You know, it's a pretty quick, it's just a hoop that we have to go through to get to actually completing.
Sorry, I'm trying so hard not to laugh like Kamala Harris right now in the yellow school buses, because she loves school buses. I'm not,
Notice I'm being quiet, so.
So, and we don't have to make a decision now, y'all can think about it, and we can either throw it on consent at the next meeting, or we can just leave it.
So a diesel bus costs 160?
120.
120.
I just don't think it's fiscally responsible. I think as the technology improves, then we revisit it, would be my opinion. I mean, I know that technology is gonna continue to improve in this, and at some point, we'll probably be there. But I just don't think today's today when it's 3 times as much, and then we have to invest all of this for our garage to learn how to work on it,
Well,
and rising electric costs like we just talked about.
Then you've got kids that are stranded because you don't have a
Mr. Hazel and I have talked, because he is a personal proponent of the electric, and.
Cars.
To be clear.
Cars.
Just threw him under the bus.
Cars.
I personally do not
Cars.
think electric buses are there technology-wise or power needs yet.
And we're in
They may
a
be
mountainous
at some
region and you need more,
It's gonna take a
Pull.
lot to pull that weight.
it's got a lot to
Yeah.
pull that way.
If you're in the city of Salem and it's
Flat.
flat as a pancake.
Or you're in
it's one
Nova
thing.
and there's a
It's-
lot of infrastructure for that, that's one thing.
And like, really exciting things that we're seeing are the school divisions, in the Midwest, where. I
It's
mean,
flat.
They're just like this table, and they can put up solar panels on top of carports that the electric buses are stored under, and they charge from that carport, and then they charge from the sun. And so, those are really wonderful innovative ideas, we're just not geographically in a place that would benefit us as much as.
Not yet, so.
I don't think anybody wants to.
I don't wanna waste your time on it.
I mean, I feel like when I met with the transportation people, they basically said that there wasn't a way to run these buses on the routes that we have and still have time to charge them and run another route. So I would be interested to see what they say, but that's essentially what they told me when I met with them.
Wait till you get out on Bradshaw Road, run out of electricity. Or go to a house out there. I should, I'm not.
And Ms. Clemens makes a good point, I think you had brought that up in our meeting, that, when we have inclement weather and you have to send buses right back out to pick up kids, and they've not had a chance to recharge yet. That, I mean, again, the technology may just not be there yet.
Well, it's there maybe for the roofs, right, for that solar energy, but just right now, not necessarily, I think, for transporting our students. It's a lot of risk involved there.
Alright, so we will not move forward on that.
You've been made aware.
Love the idea.
And I didn't have to calculate.
Alright, does anybody have anything else before we adjourn?